Welcome to Miles of Books, a book-centric show to listen to on your run from Another Mother Runner and Feisty Media. I'm Sarah Bowen Shea, your host, along with Ellison Weist. Hi there, Ellison.
Hey, Sarah. We got a good lineup today.
We sure do. And two of the books are kind of interesting. They are, in terms of the fact that they are sequels, yet you don't need to have read the previous books to enjoy and value the newest addition to the author's lineup.
Exactly.
So our first book fits in this category. It's Murder at the Spirit Lounge by Jess Kidd. And it's the second book in the Nora Breen Investigates series, featuring a former nun and a detective inspector. They're set in a fictional seaside English town in the 1950s. And I believe I'm right in saying that we both enjoyed this mystery.
Yes. Yeah. And I love the inspector's name. It's Hilary Rideout, but it's Hilary, the British Hilary. We're not talking female. We're talking male.
Yes, and there's also another man in here who has what in the U.S. is deemed a women's name, Evelyn.
Yes. Yeah.
And in the audiobook, which is what I listen to, they do pronounce it Evelyn, versus I've always thought you say it as a man's name, as Evelyn.
Evelyn. That's what I've heard
Wall.
as well. Right. Right. Well, maybe they thought, we're going to have a lot of dumb Americans listening to us, so we need to...
Right. We need to be able to have confusion as to Evelyn. Oh, it's obviously a woman. Oh, no.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that, audio narrator. Okay.
So this mystery starts with the sudden death of Dolores Chimes, a famous psychic, at a private seance, an invitation-only seance.
Yes.
And it quickly becomes clear that Dolores was murdered. Then the other 6 people at the seance begin to die in strange, almost kind of supernatural ways. And like I said, that former nun and amateur sleuth, Nora Breen, steps in to find the ghostly serial killer. And woven into the story are details about the lasting effect of the Second World War on many of the characters in the novel, as well as a bit of a love interest or two from middle-aged Nora. Yes.
Yeah.
So unlike you, Ellison, I did not read the first book in this series, so I came into the world of Nora Breen cold. But you read and talked about this novel's predecessor, Murder at Gull's Nest, last year, turns out on the debut fiction episode of Miles of Books.
So it's near and dear to my heart.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So how do you feel the two stacked up? Because I thoroughly enjoyed listening to Kidd's newest mystery.
I think you can easily go back and read the first one. I always get a little nervous when I really enjoy a first in a series, and then I go into the second one with some trepidation. And I thought they were both equally well done. I love Nora's character. I love that she's very different from what I would say some of the other literary cozy heroines are. So I think Jess Kidd is onto something here, and I hope it continues. Yeah.
I really liked one kind of common thread woven throughout, no pun on thread, which is that in part because Nora is so strapped for cash, she oftentimes wears men's garments. So she either borrows them she lives in a boarding house, and right? You'd call that a boarding house, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So she sometimes borrows clothes from one of the gentlemen who lives there, who she's friends with.
Right.
And then he also sort of takes it upon himself to be her stylist.
Yeah. Yeah, because Nora's a former nun. She, has never had much interest in clothing to begin with, and hasn't, had any need for it. So he sort of takes her in hand a bit.
Yes. And then it seems that just on the one morning she wakes up in the novel and she's like, I need some new clothes. And I'm forgetting this man's name, but that he already was one step ahead of her, and he'd already, I don't know, been to, a church thrift store or something like that and picked up some garments for her.
Yeah. And press them and, nip and tuck a little bit on certain things to make them more. Yeah.
A delightful human. Yes. So I found Kidd's faculty with language particularly impressive and pleasing. I was immediately struck. I did start reading the book. I have the physical copy of the book, and I was really struck by how short many of her sentences are, which yet they delivered a lot with not many words. And I am not, to say that the sentences were short makes it sound a little bit like I'm criticizing her, which is not the case at all. Like she just,
No.
that's her style. She uses shorter sentences and just the sentences deliver.
Right. They're not choppy. They pop. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, good distinction. Yes. So, and I found that her powers of description are really adroit. For instance, she described one character as wearing gravy brown trousers.
Yeah.
And then at one point, there's a forensic pathologist. Maybe he's the guy who does the autopsy, whatever
Yeah.
and she describes him as being, quote, a long shoelace of a man.
Yeah. I love
and it just really stuck with me. So then I had to repeat it several times because I was listening to it. I'm like, I need to remember this for the podcast. and so, it's just her language and descriptions are so wonderfully evocative. It really made the world of Nora Breen come alive for me.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you had your druthers, would you listen to the first book in the series, or do you think you would try to read it?
I gotta say, I love listening to mysteries and thrillers.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely a niche two niches that I oftentimes go to. I do also love a narrative nonfiction audiobook. I'm thinking of this one audiobook that just stuck with me. It's called This Is Chance, the Great Alaska Earthquake, Jeannie Chance and the Shattered City She Held Together. And it's written and read by John Mooallem, who is a great narrator and a phenomenal writer. And so anyway, so those are the genres that I like to listen to. So I would say that I would listen to Murder at Gull's Nest, and in part because I got to read a lot of books for this podcast. So
yes, you do. Singing to the choir, baby.
Yes. Right. You feel me. I know you do, Ellison.
Yeah. Some days more than others.
But I am heartened, if Gull's Nest came out last year and this one came out this year, then I think Jess Kidd might be on pace to write one a year.
That's what I would hope. I know that's putting a lot on her because she also has written other novels. And so, it may be in every other year but I would hope that she's going to continue this series.
Yes, I agree. Yes, we can hope. All right, it's time to hear from the brands that support the show. 3 more new novels when we return. Our next novel is the third in a series that gets a lot of well-earned praise. The book is called Cool Machine, and it's by the 2-time winner of the Pulitzer Prize, Colson Whitehead. So am I allowed to admit I didn't realize that all the books in this Harlem Trilogy, as it's called, are crime novels?
Yeah. You're allowed to admit that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was a surprise to me. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And, the third one, I've read all 3, and the third one is sadly going to be the last, but they center around a young man when we first start off with the first book in the 1960s, a guy named Ray Carney. And Ray lives in New York City, in Harlem. And when we first meet him, and I'll just kind of give you an overview. We first meet him. He's trying to get a furniture business off the ground. And as a Black man in the 1960s, New York City, that's a little bit tougher than it sounds. And the other thing is that Ray straddles being an upstanding citizen and being a fence. And this is something that he's trying to get away from, but the money is so good, the opportunities are so good that in the first 2 books, he gets himself into a couple of scrapes while at the same time trying to maintain his family life. He's married to a wonderful woman. They have 2 great kids. She knows nothing about it, or if she knows, she's keeping quiet about his extracurricular activities. And when we get the first book takes place in the 60s, second in the 70s. That's Crook Manifesto. And then we get to Cool Machine in the 1980s. And it looks like Ray has arrived. His store is doing very well. His 2 children have graduated from college and are doing exceedingly well out on their own. His wife is starting a travel agency, something she's wanted to do for a long time. And so the book is actually set into 3 areas in the 80s, early 80s, middle 80s, late 80s. And each one there is raised in a bind in one way or another. And what I love about Colson Whitehead and these books is that you're always on Ray's side. At least I was. I'm always, there are times when I wanted to go, Ray, but at the same time, I'm always rooting for him. The cast of characters that are around him, my favorite being Pepper. Pepper is a longtime friend because he was a friend of Ray's father, who, unlike Ray, never wanted to go straight. And Pepper is essentially sort of the guy you call in when things get rough. And so in this book, Pepper's he's no spring chicken anymore. I mean, Ray's in his 50s, Pepper's pushing 70. And so, like I say, all 3 are sort of put into 3 segments, possibly as a tribute to the 3 books. And each time you're like, okay, he's gotten himself into something. What's going to happen? Whitehead, it sounds to me like he can do anything. I mean, he's written a book about zombies. He's written a book about, being a kid in Nantucket. I don't think there's anything he can't do.
Have you read Whitehead's other novels, either The Underground Railroad or The Nickel Boys?
I read The Underground Railroad, and I'm afraid to read The Nickel Boys because I watched part of the movie and I could feel my heart starting to go crack because I don't know. The older I get, sometimes I sort of feel like I don't want to read or watch something that's going to break my heart. And if I know right up front that it's going to break my heart, I'm kind of a weenie.
Oh my gosh, Ellison, I can't believe you mentioned this right now, because when I was eating lunch before recording the podcast, I was reading the New York Times on my phone, and it was about how there's some new research that humans are not the only primates that have pets. And so that they've been finding that, like there was a picture of these certain types of monkeys in Thailand who were grooming a dog. And so in the article, they hyperlink to that gorilla, I believe her name was Coco, who had the pet kitten. So of course I'm like, oh, I want to see the picture. Like, Coco was so sweet. Da, da, da. So I click on it, but it was that Coco had started crying when the kitten died. And I am sitting outside on our back deck by myself, and I literally say out loud, no, I can't read that, I'll cry.
Yeah. And I think maybe in my 20s or 30s, I would have just lapped that sucker up. But, I sort of feel now like I've only been given so many tears for the rest of my life.
It's like an Ariana Grande song or something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I want to read the Nickel Boys, Colson. I honestly do. But yeah, like I'm a weenie about it. But he's an incredible writer. And I love this trilogy. And I really think, like, if you want to do your dad, your husband, hey, even your best girlfriend a solid, get her the whole trilogy. Get them the whole trilogy. I really liked it that much.
All right. So, as you know, I grew up outside of New York City in suburban Connecticut, and I went into the city a fair amount in the 1980s, including working there for a couple months in 1988. So do you feel that Whitehead really captures the grit and energy of New York City in that pivotal decade?
Absolutely. I mean, I never lived in New York City. I visited twice, and you seriously can feel, and that's the other thing about the trilogy, you can feel the difference in, what is going on in the city during those time periods. And it's not like he reads off a news flash or anything. It's just the side comments. I mean, yeah. No,
wow.
the atmosphere
so textured and
is
layered.
very much so. Good way to say it. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Our next novel is a graphic novel entitled The Nightingales, and it's by Emil Wilson. And again, I think I speak for both of us when I say this book is captivating, it's beautiful, both visually and emotionally.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I
It
mean,
really is wonderful.
yeah, go ahead and take it away. But it's,
Yeah. So like many graphic novels, the plot of The Nightingales is based on a true story. The author does kind of play with a few different facts and details, but so it's about a life-changing friendship between a 17-year-old girl and a dying stranger who moves into her family's home. It's set in, speaking of the 80s, and then in 1985 in a small town just outside of Portland, Oregon. And the main character is 17-year-old Louise Lou Miller, who lives with her parents while her older brother is away at college. And his backstory that the older brother is Emil Wilson, like this.
right.
So this is his sister. So Louise's dad works at the local courthouse, and he invites Jim, an ailing colleague who's been evicted from his apartment, to live with the family. Louise's mother is not, underline not, happy about Jim and his two live wire Pomeranians
Yeah.
moving into their house. And the book traces the warm relationship that Louise and Jim, who's a gay man, develop as his health rapidly declines from AIDS. And this book is just so moving. It's profoundly engaging. I finished it in 2 sittings. I just adored it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I love about it is it really straddles a good line between being heartwarming and sensitive, but also in some spots hilarious.
Oh,
and
yes.
And you don't feel like you're being manipulated in either case.
Mhm.
I was just really struck by that clever conceit of sort of taking us into what it's like for this gay man in the 1980s, AIDS, all the rumors, all the, misinformation surrounding it. And yet at the same time, the friendship between the two of them. And at one point in the book, they say that this Jim is the first person to treat Lou like an adult, and she is becoming an adult. So I can't recommend it enough. And I think it's so interesting that, we had this one, and, several weeks ago we had 2 other graphic novels. And that I really hope that Emil Wilson continues
Yeah.
on his journey, and I'm really eager to see other graphic. It's sort of a world I don't know about with you, but it's a world I'm not really familiar with.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Before we get onto graphic novels in general, I do want to revisit the Livewire Pomeranians, Henny and Penny.
Yeah.
Because you do talk about the humor and the way they have, and that when they have Henny and Penny, that the pages are all in shades of pink.
Yeah, hot pink. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And so it's kind of, the Legally Blonde pink.
Yes.
And the way they, in the book, then they are given the power of speech, and that they have a talk show.
Yes.
And they invite Lou to be a guest on the talk show.
Right. And the first time he started with it, I was kind of like, where is this going? But it's hilarious.
It just takes you right in, because they have such sass, and the way Henny and Penny play off of each other. I mean, they have a shtick that they've been working on.
Yeah, she said, we were barking. Well, no, you were barking. One of us was barking.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, then just pages after that, then there's this whole, they really dive into the father's backstory.
Right.
And that the father, whose name is Donald, it's already been established that he loves reading the instruction manuals that come with a coffee maker, or, I don't know, a water pump or something like that. And so, he doesn't even have to own the thing. He just likes reading instruction manuals.
Right.
So then there's, I don't know, is it 6 pages? Is it 8 pages? Oh yeah, it's 7 pages of "This is Donald. Welcome to the user's guide for Donald Miller. Donald is a father, husband, and a contributing member of society, but there's more to Donald than meets the eye." And then it becomes very text heavy. The pictures become much smaller, and goes through his whole life and kind of what drives him. And I just thought there was so much going on in this book. Yet, like a good graphic novel, it conveys so much through images. Yet I don't know. I thought it was a really unique graphic novel, and
Yeah.
I just adored it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's well, first of all, we do need to mention the artistry in this book is
Yeah.
just stunning.
Exquisite. And
It
that's the
really is.
thing.
Mhm.
And that's the thing that I am just so in awe of graphic artists, because if they can get a great story and at the same time they're drawing these pictures or painting or however they're producing them, I think
Mhm.
this one looks like it's almost sort of like a pen and ink or pen, colored
Completely.
pencils. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, talk about being talented,
Mhm.
because many people can draw. I'm not one of them, but
Correct.
many people can draw well, but then can they draw well and produce this story that
Uh,
has you hanging on every page along with the
mhm.
pictures?
Mhm. Yes, to be
Yeah.
a visual artist as well as a
Oh,
writer is
right.
yeah. Yes, that's a lot of quills in their quiver.
Yes.
So yeah. So yeah, so graphic novels. I'm intrigued that I had always imagined that you were an avid reader of graphic novels.
I am an avid reader of what I call story graphic novels. Like, I'm a huge fan of a British woman named Posy Simmons, Simmonds. And my favorite of hers, I actually have right here, is called Gemma Bovary. And you guessed it, it's a modern take on Emma Bovary. And I think she's exquisite because it's the same sort of thing. She can take a story. In this case, it's a modern riff off the book, the novel, and yet she has these fantastic pictures.
Mm.
But I'm sort of fun. I did read the one that you encouraged me to read in Portland. You know which one you're talking about. I guess I should just go.
Yes. So you're talking about the fact that my taste in graphic novels tends to run a bit morbid.
Yes, that's one way of putting it.
that the one that has stayed with me for years because it's so riveting, but it is not for the faint of heart. It
Nope.
is My Friend Dahmer by Durf Backdurf. That's the name. And it's a very disturbing, unique biographical graphic novel. And this Durf guy was a high school classmate and pal of Jeffrey Dahmer. And so the book is about, kind of a couple weeks in somewhat imagined, I hope, in, the future serial killer's adolescent life. And yeah, that one, my gosh, that no, that was shorter than the Nightingales.
Thank
I
God.
read
Yeah.
that. I had dinner in the oven. Gotta love a good sheet pan dinner, and I read all of My Friend Dahmer while dinner was cooking. So
Wow.
I mean, I blew through that thing probably in 40 under 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then I went through a real tear probably more than a decade ago from the library, all these Rick Geary books, and those are true crime. So there's Lizzie Borden, there's the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, the
Yeah. It's sort of
kidnapping of the Lindbergh
historical
baby.
true
Yes,
crime. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I think they deem them Victorian. A lot of them as Victorian, but because then he does ones that aren't quite so famous as Lizzie Borden or the Lindbergh kidnapping. But yeah, I don't know. And I mean, what started it all for me was Persepolis.
Yeah.
I thought that was. I
Okay.
think we maybe even read Persepolis for our book group a million years ago.
Was it Mouse? I thought it was Mouse that we read, but
Oh,
maybe it was
was it?
Persepolis. It was one of
Um,
those two.
yeah, and unfortunately, that author, the woman who wrote Persepolis, she died
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah. At a young age. Yeah.
Yes, that was so good, and I mean, that was about the overthrow of the Shah of Iran, and I mean, that was not a topic that I would have picked up a nonfiction, 500-page book about, but I learned a lot about the Iranian Revolution,
Yeah.
and I didn't know before I read that book that Iran had ski resorts. So,
Who knew?
you pick up a lot of stuff when you look at graphic novels,
Yeah.
and for me, they really can take you into a topic that then you don't have to commit. I don't know, 2 weeks of your life reading a book about it, but that.
And if you want, you can decide, hey, I'd like to learn more about
Mhm,
this. I
mhm,
can go pick up the 500-page nonfiction
mhm,
book.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
and
gateway.
as the mother of three kids who had an arts-focused education, thanks to Portland Public School System, when you combine art with learning, it sticks with you a lot longer.
Right.
So that that these, because it sort of just touches different parts of your brain. I think the Nightingales is going to be a book that really is going to stick with me for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, after this brief break, we'll talk about one more book. Okay, so one more novel to hear about, and it's Everything That Is Beautiful by
Hmm.
Louise Nealon. And I know you love a novel set in the Emerald Isle, Ellison.
Yep, yep, yep. I'm a sucker for them. And this one is a story that takes place around essentially three women. We have Nia Ryan, who is a young woman who grows up and is the only child in kind of a slightly dysfunctional family. So she's offloaded a lot onto the family of her mother's best friend, married into the Foleys. And Helen Foley is married to Liam Foley, who used to be a very famous and hurling
Mm,
player. And that was
okay.
the thing. When I first started reading it, I thought, oh, they're talking about lacrosse here. And then I was like, no, Ellison. And so I had to quickly go kind of, okay, hurling. So I look at a picture of the stick, not a
Yes.
lacrosse stick. But the Foleys have, I think it's 4 or 5 kids, including a son who's a couple of years older than Neva and a daughter who's about the same age. The son is Peter, the daughter's Kate. And to say that Neva sort of her life is wound into their life is putting it, sort of uh, not putting a too fine a point on it. As they grow up, it's sort of understood that maybe Peter and Neva will eventually get together.
Mm,
But Peter decides he wants to try his luck in Australia and heads out for Australia, asks Neva to come with no. And shortly after he leaves, all I can say is there's an incident that happens that ignites all three women, Neva, Helen Foley, Peter and Kate's mother, and Kate.
mm,
It becomes a secret that not only gets between all three women in all various permeations, but it really flattens out their relationships and how they each see each other. And I know I'm being a bit mysterious, but you really
yes.
have to be when you're talking about this because it affects each one of these women in a different way. And at the same time, it shows you each woman in a progressively different way. When you first start out, you're like, oh, so and so sounds wonderful. Well, wait a minute, maybe not, but oh, this is why. And,
Mm,
it's got
mm,
these layers.
mhm,
And it all kind of comes to a point about 2/3 of the way through when another one of the Foley daughters is getting married. And so this is going to bring everybody back together,
mhm.
whether they like it or not. And the way each one of them chooses to handle this homecoming and keep or not to keep this secret, expose or not to expose this secret. Are they going to give it, the light of day? Are they going to keep it quiet? How is it going to affect them?
Mm,
So, if I have any concerns about the book, I think Nealon fleshes out some of the characters a little bit more than others. And so at times you kind of have to use your own imagination, which I don't mind doing.
mm.
But I do think that this would be an interesting one to read with a girlfriend or a sister.
Oh, interesting. Hmm. Hmm. So I understand the book is told from the perspective of those three main female characters.
Yes.
Did you feel it added depth that wouldn't be possible with just one point of view?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I don't think
mhm.
she could have done it if she had taken just one of the characters and then tried to say, this is the way I'm looking at it. I think she had to, given the plot, given the secret, I think she had to go with each one of them. Plus, you didn't come away, or I didn't feel that I came away feeling the same way about at least two of the characters, two of the women, that I did when I first went into the book.
Well, that's interesting because
Yeah.
it's not an incredibly long book.
No,
So,
not
I
at
mean,
all.
it's
No.
yeah, I mean, it's just under 300 pages. So she really does a lot of work changing your mind in
Yeah.
not a lot of
Yeah.
space.
But I
Mhm.
almost really did not pick it up because I don't really like the
The
cover.
the cover, and yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it, but if you're just listening, it looks like we're looking through a stained glass window
Right.
at a blue sky with hazy birds on it, and that the font is, to me, a little reminiscent of, I don't know, almost kind of Art Nouveau.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't fit the time, of I don't know. I'm not a
yeah, it's
and
so funny.
I
So, yeah, that I didn't read this book, but then when I looked it up, I'm like, and this contemporary novel, I'm like, this is the cover of a contemporary novel?
right.
It's like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry,
was
is
thinking
this a
yeah.
book about someone at a church?
Or something, from the 1920s. I mean, this
Uh-huh.
looks like a roaring 20s cover to me. And I'm
Mhm.
funny because I do judge books by their cover. I have, God help me, but I do. I have bought books because of the covers, and I have thought, no, I hear great things about this book, but maybe I'll wait for the paperback. Or, hey, maybe I'll check, one of the bookstores over in Britain and see what the British version looks
Oh,
like.
look at you.
Yeah, it's a sickness. It's an illness.
And there's no cure for it.
No.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you still, dove into this one. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
so am I.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Miles of Books is a production of Another Mother Runner and Feisty Media. And have you heard? Feisty has brought back AMR's running programs from 5K up to marathon distance. And if you don't have a race on the calendar, you should sign up for Feisty Fit. It was just introduced. It's our 7-week running and strength training program that builds consistency and routine while fostering community. For all the details about all these programs, go to livefeisty.com and click on the training tab. Again, that's livefeisty.com and click on the training tab. And Ellison, what's our new tagline? Go on.
Hey, stay feisty, folks. See ya.
You